this topic is very important. So a question is still asked again about this same question, diabetes. Diabetes is a condition that worries a lot of people, especially from 40 years going. Almost everybody become diabetic at that year going because of our modern eating styles and other lifestyles. Our eating lifestyles and other lifestyles, other styles of life. And we found out that diabetes is mostly a lifestyle or eating style condition. It's only about 5 to 10% of diabetes called diabetes type 1, which may be genetic or maybe a disease pancreas, so that our insulin is not being produced. We don't have insulin produced because the pancreas is not working. It's disease, or it's not producing enough insulin because of the disease pancreas. When it comes that way, we may be using to inject ourselves the insulin to solve the problem. But that is only 5 to 10%. It is only few people who have that condition. Majority of diabetes cases is the type 2. And when we say that type 2 diabetes, what it means is that our body is producing insulin, all right, but the body is not using the insulin. And what is the cause of that? That's what we try to explain in the first discussion. Type 2 insulin, type 2 diabetes, is the body is producing insulin, all right. Maybe it's not sufficient, but still it's producing insulin. But in most cases, the body is not using the insulin. The body has come to the state called insulin resistance. And this is what we described. How do we come to that insulin resistance and how we have to avoid it by all means? Because these are the root cause of almost every disease, not only diabetes alone. When our body cannot consume the insulin we are producing, that's very dangerous to life and can result to death at any time. So we have to control that insulin resistance. And how do we do that? How do our body come to that condition that it cannot use insulin? There's only one way that our body will come to that condition. And so let's look at how insulin works. Insulin is a hormone that regulates our sugar, blood sugar. So how does it work? And how does it come to the point where it's no more working, even though there's a lot of them produced in our body? And this is the condition that affects about 90 to 25% of diabetes cases. That there's insulin, but the insulin is not working. Then we have high blood sugar. Then we have condition. Then we can die at any time because of that condition. So what's insulin? And how does it work? Insulin is the hormone that regulates sugar. We said that. How does it work? When we pack food into our body, the body is digested, and then breaks down into what's called glucose or blood sugar. That is the small unit of sugar that our muscles and the body can consume, glucose in the body. Now, when the glucose enters into the body, immediately insulin is released from our pancreas because the glucose level in the blood activates that hormone. Now, when it is released, it comes into the blood, it's spit into the blood, and then it carries the glucose or the blood sugar into first our muscles, because our muscles is the one who needs that sugar. So the muscles will need them because they use it for energy. The sugar is the energy for that movement muscles use. Now, when the muscles get the sugar, start to use it, and the insulin is supply it, more of it. So when we move or we walk, we do any active work, climbing stairs, running, doing that, the sugar is being used, and the insulin is packing it to the muscles. Now, the second organ that takes that insulin and that takes sugar, which insulin need to send them to, is the liver. Our liver also now takes some of the glucose in the blood. When these two organs, the muscles and the liver, are packed and they don't need anymore, and there's still sugar in the blood, the insulin carries it to the fat tissues. So when the sugar is completely, it's more, we are packing them always all the time, and then muscles are full, the liver is full, we begin down to bloat out. We come now obese or fat. We add on weight. Excess sugar is packed in the fat. So the buttocks, the thighs, the hand, the face, the cheeks become tough, big, fatty. Now, when there is still glucose being packed into our body because we are eating like pig, and the insulin has no place for the glucose again, and still more is coming, it became fed up. It becomes fed up. And then it stopped working. It stopped working at all. It's in the blood, it's packing into the blood, but it's not working. Why? Because it doesn't have any place to pack the glucose again. Everywhere is full. The muscle doesn't need again because the muscle is not being used. You sleep in the sofa, so the muscle is not working. You don't go to walk, you don't run, you don't do any exercise, you don't climb any stairs. So the muscle doesn't have any need for the glucose. And so instead, tell the insulin, I don't need any glucose again. The liver too is also full. And then the insulin turned to the fats, and the fat said, I'm full, I don't have any place. Do you want me to burst the body? So the insulin now become inactive to the glucose. It just watch it being loaded into the bloodstream because we are still continuing to eat and eat and eat. That is when we get to that place called insulin resistance, and very dangerous and very fatal. We can fall and die at any time at that level. So what should we do? We know what to do. The glucose is too much. We are not using it because we are always sleeping in the sofa, watching TV. We go to work, we sit down at one place, do 1, 2, or 2 things, we close, we come home. You are not sportive, you are not running, you are not walking, you don't play football, you don't play tennis, you don't swim, you don't cycle, and you're still packing on glucose to your body. So what's the need of that glucose eating? And eating has become like a habit. We enjoy eating, but we don't know why we eat. We don't put the eating to use, and then we become sick. Now, if you eat any pack of food, know that you are packing in glucose to your body. Your body needs the carbohydrates, it needs the protein, it needs the fat, it needs the vitamins, it needs the minerals, it needs the water. So you get all the 6 food components that generate your energy, give you strength, and produce cells for your next life, for the days. But we must think about it, that the body, you must think that the body has to use them. And the purpose for the body using them is to supply energy to the body. And so we need to work, walk, climb stairs, and we have to control the amount of food we are eating. We don't have to eat like pigs because we are not going to be sold. So we are not pigs. We have to control the food. Just because food is sweet, oh, this food is palatable, so we eat. Actually, human beings should not eat more than twice a day. human beings should not eat more than twice a day, and the food portion must be controlled, especially if you are not to do anything. You see that when people are sportsmen and women, like footballers, like swimmers, athletes, or tennis players who are always engaged in tournaments, see that they don't put on fat. Why? Because they are using the energy that the food is providing them. But if you are somebody who just sleep, not do anything, and today lifestyle is only comfortable, no walk, no running, no his. You jump into bus or your car, you move around, you have your ruler, you stomp into it, and you are going. But we eat also too much, and most of the food are processed. This is the problem. When you process the food and you eat the processed food, it's quickly turned into glucose in your body. When the food is natural, like the tubers, you just peel your cassava or plantain and eat them, or you pound them to fufu and eat them, yam, fufu, or whatever. It doesn't spark. The glucose doesn't spark. Why? Because the glucose has locked up in the food, so it's released slowly. But when they are processed, like flour, white bread, white rice, pasta, or pizza, or pizza, or I call it spaghetti, these things, or you are drinking soda drinks, malt, Coca-Cola, Sprite, you are drinking honey in your food. These things turn immediately to high concentrated glucose in the body. And you have to be very careful how much you are eating them. So try to limit processed food and stop drinking sugary drinks or soda. That's the way to control or limit insulin resistance and save your life. When you are doing that, and then walk instead of using, let's take the stairs, or you park your car at a distance and walk. Or when the distance is 1 or 2 kilometers, don't use bus, because then you put your muscles into use, you put your body into use, so that the energy that you are eating to have, you are using it instead of packing it in the body and then develop insulin resistance. So if you do it that way, then you save yourself. So till next time, let's meet.